Hey guys, Josh here from Run DNA. It is shoe review time. I love this part of my job when a new shoe like this comes to market, because when a brand executes a new model like the Nike Vomero Premium, there is a lot going on with this shoe, and it's our job in this running shoe industry to give you all the information at home that you need to know to maybe make this a shoe that you could consider for your shoe rotation. So without further ado, let's get stuck in. Okay, with all my shoe reviews, if you're new to this channel, I talk about the outsole and the midsole and the upper. I give you some information around my experience within this shoe and also draw some similar comparisons from other models in market. Now, we'll start off with the outsole because the outsole plays a critical role in protecting the asset, which is the midsole. You can see right here, I've turned this one on its side. Nike have pretty much from day dot used this Waffle technology in a lot of their running shoes. They're kind of known for producing and being the first to execute such a technology. It provides a really tacky grab with the ground. There's a lot of intricate details with reference to the positioning and also highlighting the fact that this shoe is quite broad in offering. It's a very, very large shoe, and I mean large in reference to the overall stack height, which we'll get to in a second. But when you go higher off the ground, you need to make sure that the base is nice and broad as well to provide ample amount of stability as you transition through your entire gait cycle. But you can see through here, there is an exposed pod in the forefoot and the heel, and that's just calling out those two Zoom airbags which have been encapsulated within that midsole. But again, great rubber coverage, lateral, medial side, this little truss section through here, again, plenty of grab and grip with the ground and also through to the forefoot. So there's not one part of the outsole that is not going to be in contact with the ground throughout your entry point, mid stance and toe off. And as I touched on, that Waffle outsole is really tacky and gives you great confidence and purchase with all surfaces, bitumen, pavement, and even taking it onto like a sealed rubble surface will be absolutely fine as well. Okay, let's jump to the midsole part of this review, and surprise, surprise, that's where a lot of this conversation is going to be based on. I'll start you off with the key statistics first, and to call out a significant difference between men's and women's, which is highlighted actually on the bottom of the outsole. The stack height and the drop is called out both men's and women's. So in the men's, we've got a whopping 55.5 mil stack in the heel and a 45.5 mil stack in the forefoot, so for that offset of 10 millimeters. The stack in a ladies is coming in at 52 mil on the heel and 42.9 mil in the forefoot. Now let's just round that up to 43. So what we have is a 3 mil less stack in the heel and an offset of 9 millimeters from heel to toe in the ladies, where men's obviously 10 mil and 2 mil stack higher in the heels. And with this shoe, as we touched on, having 55 mil of stack means there is going to be a lot going on underneath the foot. So you can see that we've got the two Zoom bags, heel and forefoot, exposed on the lateral and the medial side. So those Zoom bags play a critical role in stabilizing this midsole throughout the whole transition from entry through to toe off. Now on top of and underneath those two Zoom airbags, we have Nike's ZoomX technology, which is their softest, most lightest and most responsive cushioning system that they have executed. There has been subtle iterations of this ZoomX technology, some being slightly firmer, some being softer. But what I can tell you right now is that this ZoomX technology within the Nike Vomero Premium is insanely soft underneath the foot. So when you make your first point of contact with the ground, if you're a heel striker, if you're a midfoot striker, or if you happen to get up onto your forefoot, that first point of contact with the ground is going to be plush. Extremely cushioned, extremely comfortable. You are, if not the most protected shoe that's ever been produced in this running shoe industry. It offers everything from a cushioning level. Now, if you didn't have those Zoom airbags in the heel and the forefoot, if we took those out and it was just full length 55.5 mil stack of ZoomX foam, the shoe would be really unstable and you would just lose a lot of stability and you'd lose a lot of confidence in reference to the transition throughout the whole gait cycle. So by strategically placing those Zoom airbags in heel and forefoot, Nike have been able to provide an element of stability and confidence with reference to the underfoot experience. So obviously being a 55 mil stack height, and as we touched on too, when you go higher, you should go broader. So the shoe itself has quite generous surface area coverage, which we touched on in the outsole. But when you do go higher, yes, you are right in saying you're probably going to find the shoe to have a little bit of a tendency to be a little bit unstable up top. So slow down, take it easy, and when you're cornering in this shoe, going that high off the ground, you want to make sure that you don't do anything silly and roll an ankle. Now, slowing down just to make sure you turn with confidence obviously is a strategy that I would strongly recommend you incorporate into your runs. So jumping to the upper next, what we have is a really well executed upper in my opinion. An engineered mesh construction. We have a good solid internal heel counter at the back, which is absolutely needed with reference to how much stack height we have. We have this little cage on offer which sort of sits underneath the heel counter and encapsulates that on top of this midsole. Not too dissimilar to what we saw with the Zoom Invincible franchise, however, slightly more refined version of that. We have a really thick tongue, and well, I shouldn't say really thick, but a generous tongue, because there are thicker tongues out there on market, but that tongue has enough padding to provide a good solid wrap on top of your arch and provide all the comfort and stability that we need in reference to upper execution. And I wouldn't say it's gusseted, but there's a dual layered mesh construction underneath. So there is a side of a gusseted construction that runs underneath this mesh lining that is attached on the lateral and the medial side, which just keeps that tongue nice and secure on top of that platform. All in all, I feel the shoe fits pretty generous. I mean, it's only one width, which is a men's D on offer right now, and runs through to the smaller size in that unisex fit, which sort of files it down to roughly a B width as well for ladies. So again, when I say generous, I don't think it's generous in width. I think it's more generous in volume. So I felt a little bit more confident in a 9.5 in this shoe, and it may be just due to the fact that I offered a bit more volume through the forefoot. So a bit more volume in a shoe like this is good, because when you're out on the road, spending more time, more minutes, more kilometers, foot can have a tendency to swell a little bit. So a bit more space and wriggle room is actually a great thing as well. Touching on the internal heel counter and the collar around here, again, you would expect this from a premium shoe. Extremely nice, comfortable, soft touch. First step in comfort is absolutely bang on. And the amount of support at the back through here was exactly right in reference to minimizing any sort of vertical lift you may have in a new shoe like this. So great comfort, great execution in the upper, very breathable, absolute 10 out of 10 execution. So I suppose I had my reservations early, but they were absolutely blown away once I put this shoe on my foot and I got 50 meters into an easy 45-minute run. Now, the weight of this shoe is going to probably be a contentious topic. Now, I say that because generally speaking, the threshold for a mileage shoe, or a recovery shoe for that, like in a men's size 9, is around that 300 gram mark. Now, give or take, there's obviously a bit of variance from time to time with some shoes in market, but this one here comes in at 329 grams in a men's size 9. So my 9.5, you would say obviously that's going to be a little bit higher than that. So a 10%, roughly 10% increase in reference to what we consider the threshold mark of 300 grams is a lot. But this shoe does not run like it's 10% heavier. It felt like it was roughly 290 to 300 grams in my opinion. Now, that comes as a bit of a surprise. I must say that was for me, because running in a shoe like this, you're getting a crazy amount of cushioning. It is the easiest shoe I've ever run in at 5-minute 30 pace. It is so, you almost fall asleep, it's that easy running. So therefore, when it's that easy to run in, the net weight of 329 grams in a men's size 9 is a fantastic, I suppose, representation of Nike's engineering. So most of the weight is obviously underneath the foot, high stack, broader platform. The upper has to counterbalance what is happening underneath your foot. So the upper complements exactly what you need in a shoe like this for what is happening underneath your foot. Again, yes, the net weight's higher, but I don't think it runs like that. I really mean that. It is a really easy shoe to run in. And again, for me, it's not about lightweight performance when you're putting a shoe on your foot and you want to just bank kilometers and or use it as a recovery day tool. So I felt this shoe to be incredibly stable. It was so comfortable. It was really cushioned. It has a bit of pop in it through the forefoot, and that's more due to those Zoom airbags that are obviously on offer in the heel and the front half of this shoe. Now, without those Zoom airbags, this shoe would be almost like a marshmallow mess. Your foot would be moving all over the platform. So those Zoom airbags, while they offer an element of cushioning, they actually offer more of a stabilizing output. So again, that's to just help you run in a shoe like this and let the ZoomX midsole do everything it needs to do. Now, I want to talk about the geometry of this shoe next. So we do have a little rocker element through the forefoot, and that aids to the ease of running in this shoe at those slower paces. But the call out of the Zoom airbags and how the shoe itself has been put together, you can see through here, it's almost like a concave setup on the lateral side, and also it sort of comes the same on the medial side. So having that geometry execution will allow this shoe to compress a bit easier on the lateral side, which is obviously the side of the shoe that you make first point of contact with the ground. And then as you push through that midsole and you have the shoe itself hit those Zoom airbags, that's where the stabilizing factor comes in. But again, really comfortable shoe. I seriously have run in nothing like this ever before. So again, all I can say to Nike is kudos to you. You've done it again. You've created a new category, and now let's watch the other brands follow suit, potentially. So to wrap up this shoe review, I've got 3 shoes under the table that have similar characteristics to the Vomero Premium. So we'll start off with the New Balance More version 5. Now version 6 has landed in market very recently, but I feel the version 5 of the New Balance More, in reference to the amount of fresh foam midsole and cushioning that you get on first entry for your heel and your midfoot strikers, has similar characteristics to the Vomero Premium. Not identical, but similar. Before this shoe was even in market, I would probably hang my hat on the fact that saying if this wasn't the most cushioned shoe for those slower, easier days, it was a close second. And I certainly feel the More version 5 had very similar cushioning properties on first point of entry. Now with that rocket geometry through the front half, I will call out Glycerin Max. Now, nitrogen-infused DNA technology, which is on offer from Brooks. This shoe is firmer than the Vomero Premium straight off the bat. However, that last release point out of your gait cycle, so that rocket feel through the forefoot, the Glycerin Max and the Vomero Premium have very similar characteristics. Again, not identical, but similar. So that release point, which is you coming out of your gait cycle, what you get out of the Glycerin Max, you will find a similar feel and ride out of the Vomero Premium. And last but not least, the tried and tested, ever reliable Nimbus 27. Again, similar to the Glycerin Max, it has very similar rocker geometry through the forefoot, but runs marginally softer than the Glycerin Max. Again, not even close to the Vomero Premium, but again, similar characteristics from sort of roughly your forefoot release point to the Vomero Premium. So again, a lot of shoes in market now. It's becoming quite the minefield for you, the running community, to navigate and find the appropriate shoe for you that's going to fit and meet your running shoe requirements and needs. Again, I won't tell anyone how to run on their shoes. I'll guide them, but this shoe here is specifically targeting someone that just wants to have a reliable, trusted, cushioned, supportive shoe that's going to allow them to clock up the Ks in their shoe rotation and in their training week. So look, I want to say this, Nike, you did surprise me with the Vomero Premium. I absolutely love what this shoe is all about. Again, it's not going to be a shoe for everyone. I've just touched on that. But for those that are looking for that shoe that's going to complement their shoe rotation, or for something that's going to be super cushioned and allow them to just make the Ks. Now, of course, we love to hear from you, the running community all over the world. If you have used this shoe, if you're currently using it, we'd love to know what it has done for you. Drop us a comment in the comment section below. Now, if you're new to our YouTube channel, we hope you've enjoyed this review of the Vomero Premium. Hit the like and subscribe button. We'll keep working on shoe reviews like this one for you, the magnificent running community. All I want to say is get out there, smash your training goals, enjoy running has to offer. Stay safe, be kind to one another, and we'll see you out on the road. Take care.